What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, so please feel free to use them. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. As always, it hugely helps out our channel. It truly does. So thank you so much, and let's crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Yo, I don't know why I was fist pumping then. This first story comes from Throwaway Sister 09. Am I the arsehole for refusing to take my sister and her kids in unless her husband stays out? Grammar. So, my female 32 father passed 2 years ago. He left me and my half-sister, we both have different mums, same dad, inheritance that was equally split between me and her. My sister spent her inheritance money in just a few months. She's a stay-at-home mum with 2 kids and always had financial hardship. I haven't touched my inheritance money. I live in the apartment that I inherited from my biological mum in 2016. My sister sat me down to talk about her and her husband's current situation. She said her husband can no longer pay rent and they needed a place to stay. I asked for time to think, since me and her husband don't get along. She said it was okay. The next day, she showed up with her tone completely changed. She said her husband thinks I'm being manipulative by taking time to think about letting them come, and that my apartment is an inheritance as she's my sister. Therefore, I should share it with her and the kids. She said her husband also says that if I wasn't going to let my sister share the apartment, then I should give her my half of my dad's inheritance, since it's not fair since my sister doesn't work, has 2 kids, and will soon to be homeless. Well, I have a paying job, no kids, and a whole apartment to myself. I was speechless. I opened the argument by saying the apartment was from Mum, and Mum never related to my half-sister, so she has no right to her inheritance. Also, she already had half of Dad's inheritance, so she can't touch mine just because her husband thinks so. She started crying, telling me to think about my nephews. Again, parroted her husband's words, saying I have 2 options. I either let them move in or give them support money from my inheritance. I said she and the kids can move in, but her husband, no, he's banned from my place. She pitched a fit, saying she can't believe I wanted to keep the kids' father away from them, and I'm the reason they'd be homeless for refusing, but I flipped out and said, I'm not, but it's a deadbeat of a husband that she keeps repeating his nasty words instead of holding him accountable for the shitty situation they're in. I told her I won't continue to speak to her since her husband speaks for her. She left after the blow-up. Days later, I discussed this with my stepmom, and she said she couldn't believe I cut contact with my sister, only for asking for help, and I needed to see her soon and arranged for one of the 2 options to be considered. Reminding me that innocent kids are involved, even if my brother-in-law can be rude to me. But I'm standing my ground on letting him into my place after what he said. Am I the asshole? My sister is younger than me. She's 26, and our kids are 2 to 5. I love my sister. I have a good relationship with her and the kids and stepmom for years. I don't want to ruin this now. Edits, because I see this question being asked, my stepmom is now living with her family and brother-in-law and has been in no contact with them, so is unlikely to let them move with them. Edit 2, look, I love my sister and my nephews so much. I treat my nephews as my own kids, and I did help in the past because I know my sister and my nephews are struggling. However, I'm quite upset because of how she talked to me, but I know that it was her husband who was talking to me that day, not her, since she kept repeating his words. Absolutely and not the asshole in this situation, and the husband has the cheat to come back with, you're being manipulative in this situation, and then throwing stuff in your face like the nephews and the inheritance and all this kind of thing. Absolutely not the asshole, 100% to me. But as always, and I might be wrong going down this road as usual, but I do question what the sister is actually going through with husband. If he's like trying to manipulate you with the 2 kids and, you know, trying to get your inheritance, trying to get your flat, it just screams that something's going on in the background, that she's so easily manipulated to approach you with this. Someone that you said is like, you can totally see is the husband through her. It's just ringing bells for me at the moment. But Bailey Blossom says, not the arsehole, do not let her move in and take advantage of you, and do not give up your inheritance. She blew the money, she can get a job. And Mr. Spreadham says, not the arsehole, your sister made her choices, not working, having children. Her worst choice is that she's letting her husband speak for her. You have what they want, so you are in the right to give options to them. 1, stay but no brother-in-law, or 2, don't come. If the brother-in-law is a half-decent person, he'll send his family to you while he sorts himself out. And Coven Life says not the arsehole and go for option 3, no help. She cannot afford to be a stay-at-home mom and needs to get a job. Why don't her mother take her in? And Della says not the arsehole. They said there were only 2 options. They missed the not your problem option. Literally, their financial decisions are their decisions, not your repercussion. Your stepmother can take them in. They can go to a homeless shelter, stealing your money and taking over your apartment and not options on the table. Yelling at you should automatically equal a door slamming in their faces. If your sister starts parroting the husband, slam the door. They need to deal with their lousy decisions. And now, let's move on to the next story. And this next story is from Call Cops Throwaway. Am I the arsehole for calling the cops on my mother-in-law? My mother-in-law has recently divorced my father-in-law as she doesn't have a way to survive. All of their kids and their spouses have been giving her money, but she claims it isn't enough. My father-in-law was pretty loaded, so I guess she was permanently used to the rich lifestyle. Recently, my wife invited her over, and while I was preoccupied, she took my ring. This ring was my father's ring, and I cherished this ring a lot. It would be terrible if I lost the ring. I thought I just misplaced it, but I couldn't find it anywhere. The next time my wife had a video call with her mother, I saw the ring in the background. I went straight to my mother-in-law's house and asked my ring back. She tried to play it dumb, but I could literally see the ring behind her. She wasn't that tall, so I don't know why she was even trying to hide it. I called the cops when she refused with a detailed description of the ring and promptly left. I don't know what the cops did because I wasn't there, but my in-laws aren't happy. They're pissed off that I handled the situation by calling the cops instead of checking to make sure it was actually the ring, but I know what I saw. I've had the ring for years, and I know what it looks like. My in-laws have called me all kinds of names. Am I the arsehole? Nope, again, 100% and not the arsehole. This is one of them ones, she stole from you. She literally stole from you. I know people are in desperate situations every now and then, but it doesn't feel like this is one of those truly desperate situations to me, and she was just literally stealing from you. I would cut someone out of my life for doing that. If someone stole from me, rather than discuss their situation like an adult and, come up with a plan with someone, to potentially help them out, and that they decided to steal from me behind my back, I'd cut that person out. Just simply like that. Although this is screaming for an update because, did it get the ring back? Did she give it back? Did the police find it? What happened? And we start off with Verdide saying, not the arsehole, go full force. No ring equals no money ever. Never allowed in your home again. Never see grandkids if you have any. Tell your wife she gets it back, or maybe we'll consider therapy instead of divorce. Not okay. Go scorched earth. And Ornery Fish says, did you get it back? Not the arsehole, finally. And Calicop says, I did. At which Little Cora says, like from the cop? So your mother-in-law? Obviously, if she had your ring, you're not the arsehole, and she could have avoided the phone call to the cops by giving it back. She brought it on herself. And Real Donut says, not the arsehole. She literally stole from you. And Catler says, not the arsehole. I mean, she stole from you. Theft is a crime. Just make sure she never has the chance to access any of your bank account or credit card numbers, just in case. Might want to pull your credit report once in a while, too. Pretty brief story there, but let's move on to the next one. And this story comes from Throne56445. Am I the arsehole for calling out my doctor friend for bragging about making $500K a year when she judged my husband for being a software engineer? One of my good friends in college is now a doctor. She did her residency in gastroenterology. I'm proud of her, and I have a lot of respect for her because I know it was a long journey. She was over my apartment, and she was giving me crap because my husband works for a health insurance company. He works as a software engineer, making apps to help better detect fraud, and he actually did a lot of great work earlier to help detect pharmacies that had illegal activity with opiates. Well, when we were here, she was talking about how she's able to make $500K a year, that she has so much flexibility with her timing that she can work for 2 clinics at once. I was happy for her. We were talking, and then she brought up that my husband works in insurance and said that's kind of scummy, that it's really bad business profiting of people's sickness. I was like, what? My husband does a lot of good. She then goes on to say that insurance companies are the reason why healthcare is so expensive. I was like, what the fuck? I got angry 5 minutes ago. I was like, okay, you need to stop. You can't brag about making $500K a year, then get mad at my husband for being an engineer, and also pretending that you aren't in it for the money. Like, I get that your work is important, but don't act like you aren't compensated for it. She then gets angry at me and starts acting like I'm jealous of her. I was like, nope. She's now telling people that and saying I'm an arsehole and that I'm jealous of her. And we start straight away with men to work after. I don't know if I got that right. You never got this vibe from her before in your life. That's hard to imagine. Not the arsehole, but not someone I'd want to be around in general. And Pistol Rose says, not the arsehole, if she's making $500K of the same capitalistic healthcare system, she can't talk. We should ask her what she was actually doing to fix the system, since she's also a participant. And Singing Stream says, so she literally charges people to make them well again, and she has a problem with your husband because apparently it's a really bad business profiting of people's sickness. Did the hypocrisy of that seriously not make her brain fall right out of her head? Not the arsehole. And we have one more from Chew My Fudge saying, well, if anybody asked, tell them your side of the story, that she disrespect your husband when all you were doing is being happy for her. How would anybody else react if their essay was being ripped apart behind their back? Now, let's move on to the next story. And this next story is from Seed Development 60. Am I the arsehole for going on a camping trip instead of staying home with my pregnant wife? I know the title might sound bad, but the story is that 12 years ago, myself, 32 male, my younger brother, and our two close friends started a tradition that every year we go on a camping trip together. We weren't able to the past 2 years because of my wife, 29 female, and I had our first child in 2019. And last year, obviously, wasn't a great time to be taking trips. So this year, me, my brother, and our friends agreed on going camping. I told my wife, who's currently 25 weeks pregnant, about it. 3 weeks before, as she wasn't happy. She said I can't just leave her alone while she's pregnant. She said that she's anxious because our daughter was born premature at 27 weeks, and she's scared it's going to happen again with this pregnancy, and I wasn't going to be there with her. I reminded her that this camping trip was only going to be for 2 days, and only a few hours away, and I highly doubt anything is going to happen when I'm gone for the weekend. She told me, do whatever you want. I went camping last weekend, and when I came home, my wife has been in a bad mood ever since. I tried to discuss it with her because I don't understand why she's so mad at me, as she tried saying that I never prioritize her, and I need to grow up because I'm a dad now. Then she proceeded to call me a self-absorbed asshat. I feel guilty now. She and my daughter always been my first priority and my main focus. All I did was go away for 1 weekend. Am I the asshole? And we'll start with Beautiful Concern 144 saying, ordinarily I would say at 25 weeks she can manage, but if you have a history of a 27-week preemie, then yeah, you're the arsehole. Did the trauma the first time around escape you? Does the stress your wife must be under, hoping not to go through that again, not mean anything? I had a 31-weeker, and the whole situation was the most physically and emotionally traumatic situation I've ever been through. I've never felt so helpless and frightened. I will not put myself through another pregnancy because I can't risk it happening again. Your wife must be having to work really hard to be strong, and for you to just bugger off with your mates at such a vulnerable time is such an arsehole move. And Sci-Fi Emma says, and quotes, she and my daughter have always been my first priority and my main focus. All I did was go away for 1 weekend. And then says, these sentences contradict each other. You're the arsehole. And Maring says, you're the asshole, you ignored your pregnant wife's wishes so you can go camping. Clearly she's not a priority. At the time you went, she was roughly 5 to 6 months along, which is when it starts getting difficult for her to do things on her own, including looking after your daughter. You need to do something special for your wife who's going through a lot hormonally and mentally so that she knows you prioritize her. And Lena B says, you're the asshole, like, come on. She was frightened, plus she has a toddler at home, and yet you go camping because of tradition. Very selfish of you. She's very obviously not your priority. You could have scheduled another time for the camping. Instead, you told her to suck it up. Wow. You start your story going, I know it sounds bad, but, and the only excuse you can come up with is how you couldn't go camping at the other times. That's pathetic. Wow again. And now let's move on to the next one. And this next story comes from Clem H. Fandango. Am I the arsehole? A stranger's dog ate my pizza crust I was savoring out of my hand, and I told the owners to control their animal in a less nice way. First Am I the arsehole post. This one is fresh, still twisting internally about it. Basically, I was enjoying a slice of pepperoni to go on a bench on downtown college campus. It was really lovely and a very nice day. Beautiful. Pizza was delish. I was finishing up when a group of friends were walking along the edge of the walkway towards me and had a German Shepherd on a leash in the plant bed beside the walkway. As they approached me, they didn't divert the dog out of the plant bed and were basically ignoring my existence. They are close enough and the dog charged at me from behind at my pizza and ate it out of my hand. I was wrathful about the dog, like what the fuck? But I am more upset how the owners just sort of stood there with the dog afterwards, which was straining against this leash, biting desperately for the food in my hand. They made a weak attempt to keep the dog away from me and never thought to just keep walking down the path. So I'm pinned down on this bench, clutching some pizza like an arsehole, with a German Shepherd foaming at the mouth 2 feet from my face. They were very vapid about it, like they expected me to be like, oh my god, your dog is so cute. So when I abruptly gathered my shit and stood up and removed myself, they were really confused. And I stormed off, I say, in a really harsh tone, you need to control your fucking animal. Are you fucking stupid? Do you think I want your dog eating my fucking food? What is the matter with you? Effing idiots, etc., etc. A little cringe admittedly, but that's why we are here. They were clearly very shocked. They just stood there and gaped. I do feel bad for being so explosive, but gosh guys, that pizza was my whole day. Am I the asshole? No, absolutely not the asshole. It's all about them controlling their dog. I got a little bit of waffle for you after this one as well. Let me tell you, something happened today. Whoa! If you want to be on Am I the Arsehole, get yourself a pet, get yourself a dog, go for a walk. You'll get some stories, let me tell you. But German Shepherds are pretty big, strong dogs. And that the dogs that the police use, they're incredibly strong dogs. And it sounds like the way the dog was just nipping at the food. If you was putting that near your mouth, your face could have got bitten or anything. And imagine if there was a child, it was trying to take it from a child, bit their hand. Anything could happen. It's just incredibly dangerous when people don't control their dogs. And it's so frustrating for the dog as well, because if the dog bites someone, then that dog's gonna get put down, and it's not fair on the animal. Not everyone are dog people, not everyone are pet people, not everyone wants pets around them all the time. So to just let this pet wander all over the place and ignore this person's existence just like that is incredibly dangerous. It gives dogs a bad name, pets in general a bad name, dog owner is a bad name, and it's just incredibly dangerous and stupid. It winds me up. And I'm very much a dog person. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I hate dogs or anything like that, because I absolutely love dogs. But keeping the dog under control, safe, and people safe around you is the top priority. And that's all there is to it. So we're going to come with some comments now, then I'll give you a little bit of waffle, because that's what you're here for. Curious Nature Chuck says, nope, you are absolutely not the asshole. People need to control their dogs. And After Midnight says, not the arsehole, they need to learn to control that big-ass dog. And Tweaky Wolf says, not the arsehole, as a dog owner, this is annoying because it makes the rest of us look bad. Some people are saying you cramped up too fast, but here's the thing. How long did you give them to pull their dog back? My guess would be a minute or two, which is sufficient to pull a dog back, even if nothing more than to provide a larger gap while they got it under control. So no, you are not the arsehole here. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. Not all of us are like that. And Mustang says, not the arsehole, German Shepherds are known for how strong they are, and if they bite you, there's a reason why they're used for security purposes. And you had a strange dog lunging at your face to try and rip something you were holding out of your possession. It's honestly a surprise you didn't get bitten, and the owners of the dog needed that wake-up call. Hopefully they'll take it as a lesson and actually train their dog. And Y says, not the arsehole, people are so nonchalant about their animals. No dog should ever get close enough to you, especially eating your food without your consent. And one more from Riggs Diggs saying, not the arsehole, dog owners need to understand that not everyone is a dog person. And even if they are, doesn't mean that they want to interact with your very good boy. I remember taking my daughters for a walk when they were super little and a huge dog charged upon us, followed eventually by their owners. My girls screaming for bloody murder as this dog was taller than they were and all up in their face. The owners, oh, don't worry, he likes kids. Do my daughters get a vote? We have a dog now, and my daughters are cool with him because he's actually a great boy, but we keep him controlled on a damn leash. Plus, pizza is really fucking good. Too true, pizza is good. But as I said, I had a story that happened, wow, it was yesterday, it wasn't today. As I said earlier, it was yesterday. And I was taking, it's like ever since I've got Poppy, I take her for a walk. That's something that nearly happens every day. I mean, I can't tell you a story every day because a lot of them would be repeats of the same thing happening. But it's always people not controlling their dogs, and it's just really frustrated me recently because Poppy is a very, very nervous dog. She's getting used to some other dogs at the moment because we got the fence panel still down at the end of my garden at the moment, and they have dogs, and they sniff each other through the fence. So she's slowly getting used to dogs, very slowly. But if a dog runs up to her, she runs in circles and tries to hide behind me and all this kind of thing. I think I explained it before where she got chased off the field by another dog. But just yesterday, I went out, usual thing, walking down the path, and just walking away, and I see this person in front of me with this dog, and it was like a spaniel of some sort, so maybe like a medium-sized dog, if you like. Poppy's a very small dog, as you see from the pictures. And I see these people about 100 or so meters away from me, and this dog immediately lays on the floor, and I think, oh yeah, here we go, it wants to play or something like that. So I walk to the right, and I stand right on the grass away from them, tried to give like an indication to the owner, not interested, you know. This dog's off to lead. At this moment on the great. So I just stand still, and the dog slowly starts crawling forward. So I start walking forward, trying to like edge my way past it on the right. Suddenly, as we get closer, the owner's just grinning and going, and the dog bolts for Poppy, and it bolts and it's running around in circles for her. Poppy's scared shitless, diving between my feet, and I said, mate, can you get it under control? To which he's still there with a fucking stupid grin on his face, just looking at me. And I said, mate, can you get it under control one more time? And then he calls his dog. The dog doesn't come. Eventually, it does wander off. The dog runs back to the owner, and as I'm walking away, this dog comes to bolt him back. It ran between me and Poppy and caught Poppy's lead in between its neck and flipped Poppy in its back and dragged her. And at that point, I just wasn't best pleased because Poppy was getting dragged around on her back, and I just didn't know what to do in this situation. Poppy did eventually get to her feet, and then this dog was trying to, I don't know what it was trying to do. It looked like it was trying to bite her back or something like that. And at this point, the owner was still doing nothing. In the end, I grabbed the dog, and I sort of like had it sort of under his chest and one arm sort of under its neck at the same time. I wasn't doing it hard or anything like that, but I had to grab it because I felt like I had no other choice. Poppy was darting around. I couldn't really grab her, and that dog was just far easier to grab at that moment. Feel bad for doing so, but I felt like I have no other choice. This dog was, I don't know what, it almost felt like it was attacking Poppy at this point. So I grabbed this dog, and then I said to the guy, I said, mate, you best come control this dog and put a lead on it. And I know it's not the dog's fault, it's the owner's fault, but I didn't know what else to do, and he eventually put it on the lead. I just said, mate, she's a nervous dog. This is the second time this has happened. Can you please keep your dog on a lead, at least when it's around mine, you know? To which, give him his dues, he did apologize and walk off, but it was the stupid grin he was giving me the first time the dog was doing it, and I asked him to control his dog, and he didn't. You say I could have picked Poppy up, but the same, Poppy was darting everywhere, and the easiest thing to do at that moment was to get the other dog in the control, because if I picked up, was that dog going to start jumping at me, you know? There are lots of thoughts going on. Adrenaline was going at that moment in time, but thankfully, both dogs were absolutely fine by the end of it, okay? But anyway, thank you for being here today, guys. If you did enjoy today's stories, let me know your verdict, your comments, what you thought about the stories, if you choose to do so. If you don't, that's absolutely fine as well. Thank you so much for spending 20 minutes or so out of your day with me, listen to a story of two. As always, it means the absolute world. It changes everything, and I cannot express that enough. Thank you so much, and if you'd like to support the channel further, you can, but absolutely no pressure to do so by clicking that join button down below for YouTube. I'll kick in the link in the description for Patreon, and join up there. Thank you so much for your love, support, and time, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.